You can notice in verse 2 that the psalmist's perspective here is focused on earthly things, particularly in what has been causing him problems. The life of evil people, in the way they seem to be blessed, it will talk about fairness that definitely didn't sit well with the psalm's author. As he expressed his concerns in verse 4 to 7, as he expressed his concerns in verse 4 to 7, for there are no pangs in their death, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men, nor are they plagued like other men. Therefore pride serves as their necklace. Violence covers them like a garment. Their eyes bulge with abundance. They have more than heart could wish. So in verse 4 to 7, he seemed, he seemed to have had a hard time understanding God's terms of fairness. Wicked people seem to have no problem. He described them in detail as he lamented, and we can tell that he was focused on people. Aside from obviously evil, he also took note that rabid, they were rabid boasters. In verse 11, in verse 8 to 11, says, they scoff and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak loftily. They set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongues walks through the earth. Therefore his people return here, and waters of a full cup are drained by them. And they say, how does God knows? And is there knowledge in the Most High? That's in verse 11 to 8 in Psalms 73. That he emphasized that these people even sin with their mouths, saying wrong things and blaspheming the Lord towards blaspheming the Lord's. In verse 12 to 15 says, behold, these are the ungodly who are always at ease. They increase its riches. Surely I have cleansed my heart in vain, and washed my hand in innocence. For all day long I have been plagued and chastened every morning. If I had said, I will speak thus, behold, I would have been untrue to the generation of your children. That's in verse 12 to 15. We can see clearly why he was jealous of the wicked. Have you ever had that kind of experience, being jealous to the people around you that is doing is not right in the eyes of God? Have you experienced that? Sometimes, do you ask yourself, is it worth following Jesus Christ? You might have realized at one point that even if you don't compromise don't cheat, and you remain faithful, when you look at your life, you are hurting and have problems. Compared to your friends who don't follow God, who are corrupt, everything in their lives seem to be okay. And that just seemed unfair. This was the start problem of Asaph in Psalm 73. He concluded that life was unfair based on what he saw. And he knew that if he continued in this line of thoughts, that he will end up sinning against God. He knew what he needed to do. He needed to align his perspective and recalibrate his thoughts and heart to God. He needs to realign his heart, his relationship to God. As a children of God, as a people of God, followers of God, when we are going, if we are going to experience things like that kind of feeling that Asaph experienced, we need to realign. We need to realign our heart to God. We need to align his perspective and recalibrate his thoughts and heart, our thoughts and hearts to God. The second is align your perspective. In verse 16 to 22, when I thought how to understand this, it was too painful to me until I went into the sanctuary of God. Then I understood their end. Surely you set them in slippery places. You cast them down to destruction. Oh, how they are brought to desolation, as in a moment they are utterly consumed with terrors. As a dream when one awakes, so Lord, when you awake, you shall despise their image. Thus my heart was grieved, and I was vexed in my mind. I was so foolish and ignorant. I was like a beast before you. That's in Psalm 7, verse 16 to 22 in Psalm 73. Many times we look at life not seeing the big picture. We jump to wrong conclusions because most of the time our perspectives are not aligned with truth. For the psalmist, he expressed this recalibration of perspective. As he said in verse 16 to 17, when I thought how to understand this, it was too painful for me until I went into sanctuary of God. Then I understood their end. He entered the sanctuary of God, which was another way to describe worship. When we enter to the sanctuary of God, when you consider things that you are going to, to talk with God, and you're going to pray with God, talk with God, heart